Oh, hello. So I'm just going to do a little update, well, conclusion really, on this project I've been banging on about for the last year or so. If you look at the Big Cloud Productions YouTube channel, there's a playlist, project vlog, and there's about 30 weeks worth of weekly videos in there where I'm updating my supervisor of what's been going on for this album project I've been doing. Now, that wasn't just for my own vanity. That was part of the academic process. Part of the marking scheme of this final project was doing a weekly vlog and having a YouTube element to it, and uploading it. I don't know if that's what they did pre-COVID, but in the COVID times that we were doing our project, and it was completely necessary. There was no other way of communicating it. Okay, if you've never watched any of the videos, basically, my name's Steve. I've done a 3-year BSc in audio and music production. The final project of the degree was I decided to write, record, produce, and release commercially an original album of music. And the marking was split into 4 bits. There was the blog element, where you had to basically demonstrate time management and project management skills, and keep a weekly blog going. Then there was the media deliverable, so i.e. your actual finished product, whether it's a CD or a stream or whatever it may be. There was a presentation and viva aspect. That was the 3rd part. That involved a poster as well. And then finally, maybe the most crucial part was the dissertation, which a big report you had to write, an academic science report, detailing all your findings and your conclusions and your tests or what have you. So that's a big report. I mean, I wrote close to 40,000 words on that, and it's not a page turner. It's not like an English lit report or anything. It's a science degree, a BSc, so it's very stiff. You just have to demonstrate, why am I doing this? What did I find out? What would I do differently? Blah 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 blah. So they're the 4 main bits. So I'll just kind of go through where we are. So the vlog, you may have seen the videos as well as the weekly videos on the YouTube channel. I had to submit some paperwork. That looked a bit like this. This was week 30, right towards the end. So it was basically just continue. I think this was the last one I ever submitted. Just continue writing the report. That's what I'd planned to do the week before, and then report almost complete. Maybe it was the penultimate week, and what I planned to do next week. And then there was like a freeform bit where I'd put in like a screenshot on my Gantt chart, which helped me do the project planning, and then how much time spent, and then a link to the YouTube video there. So I do one of them a week, every week for 30 odd weeks. So I'll show you the Gantt chart. So this was split into basically 12 objectives. The green obviously means it's done, red, incomplete. So this is a finished report. Everything is green. Obviously, when I started, everything was red. So that gives me a nice, warm, fluttery feeling in my tummy looking at that. Look at that. Beautiful. So objective 1 was research all aspects of an album recording project. So we had to do before the dissertation, we had to do another report, which was a terms of reference report. So you'd have to issue your aims and objectives, and one of the main objectives was research what you're doing. So mine was recording an album. Somebody else's project might have been making a speaker or a guitar pedal or whatever it may, or a video. So I had to do the research into, I suppose, the science of what's out there. There's no point in me recording an album just saying I know what to do. I've been doing this for years. They couldn't take that into account. I had to demonstrate that I'd read the existing literature on recording methods and production, And this involves some basic science in decibels and acoustics and things like that. So I went through, pre-production, songwriting, recording methods, DAW, studios, equipment, digital mixing, mastering, album art, merch, distribution, deliverable formats, things like that. So I wrote a big academic report all on that kind of stuff. Then I went on to the actual pre-production that involved creating this Gantt chart, planning it all out. As you can see here, it started in September 2021 and it finished all the way in May. So that was last month. So it's a pretty big project. Then I had to, each objective has a number of tasks. So objective 2 also included equipment lists and DAW templates and contacted musicians and brainstorming and all that kind of stuff. Then it was compose an album, compose the songs. So I tasked myself to write 10 songs. So where am I? Here we go. If I had to do this again, and it wasn't a COVID pandemic and a lockdown, I'd just find a band, like a young band or an old band, doesn't really matter, who wanted some free recording, and I'd say, you supply the material, because this was an extra step, composing the songs. I didn't get any academic marks for writing songs. I just did it as a means to an end because I needed material to mix, master and record, and I couldn't do covers. Like, I couldn't do the delta tones. That's the wedding duo I'm in, because you've got all kinds of copyright issues with that. I had to release this commercially. So I just concluded the easiest thing for me as a songwriter who knows how to do it, just quickly bang off 10 songs. So, that's what I did. So objective 4 was record acoustic demos of those 10 songs. So just me and an acoustic guitar with, click track and chord progressions and BPMs and, tempo tracks and all that. Then I did a multi-instrumental tracks. So I did a one-man band thing here in Big Cloud. I took my acoustic demos and I added pre-programmed drums. Not pre-programmed, that's the wrong phrase. I programmed some drums. I used drum samples and I painted in the drum beats myself, because I'm not an actual drummer and I don't have a kit in this room. As you can see, where would it go? So I have to use software. So I use BFD3 is a good one. I've got Groove Agent and Cubase as well. So there's various ways of doing it. So I'd put in a beat, not in any way to say to the drummer, who was Jai Stark, who's a world-class drummer, this is what I want you to play. It was just basically giving him an idea. So this is a rock song and you kind of want a driving thing, but then it'd be like, but you do your own thing. If you've got a better idea, go for it. So it was just to give them the flavour of what was in my head. And again, with the bass guitar, I can play a bit of bass, but compared to Colin Wilson, who actually came in and did the real bass, I'm not in the same universe. He's a world-class bass player. So I did a bass line, just me, just doing a basic bass line, and I said to him, just do what you want. So 99% of the album is him just ignoring my bass line and doing his own thing, and it's always better than what I came up with, so I was really pleased with that. And then I added piano, and that. Originally we were meant to have a piano player, Mikey. So I the same process. I did some basic piano, and I'm a very basic piano player. And I sent him the tracks, and I was like, and he's a phenomenal piano player, so I said, just do your own thing. It just never worked out. He's over in Thailand. It was hard to kind of communicate. We're in the middle of a pandemic, so it unfortunately didn't work out with Mikey. So the piano you hear on Sketches from the Bunker, that's the album title if you haven't got onto that already, is me. And that's one of the regrets I have, really, because I hear the bass and it's Cole, that sounds brill. I hear the drums and it's Jai, it sounds brill. I'm doing the guitars and the vocals and any MIDI instruments, and then I hear the piano and I think, I wish it was Mikey on the piano or somebody else. I should have got someone else, because I don't think he could do it. But it's okay. It's it's basic piano. It's I played it on MIDI and but yeah. If you were to ask me a regret, it was the piano. Okay. So yeah, so that was the Objective 5. So I recorded these full demos with all the instruments. I gave them to the guys. So now you got the tempo, now you got the chord structure, now you got all the instruments. And then the plan was, then we're going to go to a studio and we're going to re-record the drums and re-record the bass, and and I'd then re-record any bits that I wanted to do, any extra vocals or guitars and that. So then we went to, this was Objective 6. We went to Rock 2 Studios, had a great recording session, recorded the drums and bass, and it was just wonderful. Jai and Carl just did an amazing job. I couldn't have asked for more. I mean, I thought it was ambitious. We only had 2 days in there and we wanted to record 10 songs. Anyone that's gone to a studio, and we were dropping in and doing different tracks and overdubs and stuff. So it wasn't just like a live recording. Record, there you go, whatever happens. We were doing it song by song, track by track, and so we got 10 songs done over the course of a weekend, and it was great. So my plan was, we'll aim for 10, we might get 8, and I'll just drop the 2 that didn't work out or we didn't get around for. But everything we recorded we used. I mean, not every take obviously, but every song we aimed to get recorded is on the album. Nothing was left off. So couldn't have gone better, really. And I'll always be grateful to Jai and Cole for doing that, especially in the middle of a pandemic, because Jai had some health issues. He was taking a risk. I mean, we all got vaccinated and masked up, and me and Mark were running around the studio sanitizing before they came in and everything. So we were sensible about it, but it was still a bit of a risk at the time. So then it was just evaluate and edit the songs, take out any issues, any noise, choose the right tracks. It's transfer from Pro Tools into Open Media format and then into Cubase. So it was a bit of an effort there. Then this just looks simple, doesn't it? Mix and master the songs. That just sounds, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just mix and master the songs. It's actually really hard to mix and master, songs like that. It's you got a drum kit with 11 mics on it. You've got a couple of tracks of bass. You've got some of the songs, like you got 8 or 9 tracks of guitars and vocals and back and so yeah, it's a lot. And then you got to master it and got to get it sounding good on a variety of formats. It's not just getting it sounding good on these speakers, because this is a studio. We've got acoustic treatment. Everything sounds okay coming out of these speakers, but then you get it in the car or you get it on your headphones or your phone speaker, and then it sounds like dog dirt. So that's what mixing is, really. It's not just making it sound good sitting at your desk. It's making it sound good wherever you're listening to it. And that's the challenge, because most of the people that will hear this won't sit in an acoustically treated room with nice speakers going, that's interesting what he's done with, the 5K there, They're going to be listening on £5 earbuds going, oh, it's a bit tinny, It needs more bass. And so that's the challenge. You've got to mix for everybody. So it's like spinning plates. It's a juggling act. You can get it sounding cracking in the car, and then you bring it back in here, and you're like, oh, now I've messed it. I've pushed that too much. So this Objective 8 was the main, part of the project for me. That was the challenge. Then it was the other big challenge was prepare the final report, which is the dissertation. So you could argue, I've got experience in recording music, so while it was a big ambitious project, it's nothing I've never done before. I've recorded albums before and wrote songs before and all that kind of stuff. I've never wrote a 40,000 word academic report or a dissertation, so this was me in out of my comfort zone, so I was quite worried about that. So there's a few tasks associated. Then it was create album art, merch, all this kind of stuff, publicity. Then distribution. It was originally going to go on an independent record label, 72 RPM. The release dates didn't mesh with the academic deadlines, and it just became easier just to release it myself. So this project is it's a series of compromises, isn't it? I was compromising by writing the album myself. It would have been better to get just an independent band in, but I had to compromise. I had to compromise, the way it was recorded, going into the studio with the COVID and all that. And I had to compromise with the release. Ideally, if there was no academic deadlines, I'd have just done it on the record label and, it had gone out when it went out. But my priority was getting the stuff in for the degree. And it was really for the dissertation. I needed to write about the release in the dissertation, and the dissertation needs to be done, but they didn't want to release it until like months down the line, and it just didn't really work. So unfortunately that didn't happen, but I'm happy with the way it's been released. I just did it through CD Baby. It's gone off. It's in iTunes and Spotify and all the usual places. I've got hard copies printed off. Yeah, it's fine. It wouldn't have been much different because the independent record label, they were a small label. They couldn't have given me any promotion anyway. They don't have the budget, so I would have had to have done all the promotion myself. So I'm probably really not in a much different situation. And then Objective 11 was just basically hand it all in, all the different aspects, hand it in by the deadline. So done. You can see here. Everything's done, and then here we are, Objective 12. This is me today, evaluate and reflect on the project. So this is it. That's what I'm doing. So this is it. We're at the end. This is Objective 12. Yeah. So how did it go? Well, okay. Well, that was really only part one. That was the blog and the Gantt chart and that. I'm not going to bore you too much with this, but okay. So then we had to do the media deliverable. So if we go here, this is what I handed into the university. These are the streaming links: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, Bandcamp. Let's see. Will this work? Click and control. Let's see what happens if I do that. Oh, hello. Oh yeah, look at that. So that's the album. Will that work? Yeah, so by all means check it out. This is what we produced. 10 songs. I wrote them all myself. We recorded them. That's the album cover. Behind me on the album cover is the Carrick desk in Rock 2 Studios. In my glasses, there's Jai Stark, and then there's Colin Wilson, two of the best session musicians and you'll ever meet, and that's my big stupid face, and that's it. So yoink, yeah. So and then I posted physical CD copies to my supervisors. Where are we? Yeah, so that's a CD covered in cellophane. I've got too many of these, so if anyone wants one, let me know. Yeah, so that was part 2. So we've done the vlog, we've done the media deliverable, and then there was a presentation and a viva. So basically, I had to design a poster. Yoink! That's the poster. A 70s style lockdown album recorded in nuclear bunker. All that's true. It's a 70s style album. The style of the music, it's David Bowie, Lou Reed, classic rock, early 70s. And the studio's set up for that. It's a classic. It's similar equipment that they've been using, like Ken Scott or Tony Visconti would have been using in those days. We used a lot of vintage mics. The style of music I write, because I'm an old man, is probably classic rock. I'm not writing, modern rap or dance. It's classic rock. It's what I'm into. So it's a 70s style album, and that was the brief. And I think I met the brief. And evidence for me meeting the brief is this quote here from Jamie Funk from Divide and Conquer, and he'd said, "Sketches from the Bunker leans heavily into the 70s, from delivery to production. Stroud pulls it off, and fans of that era will especially appreciate this album." Okay, so yeah. I wanted to make a 70s album. I made a 70s album. There you go. And then the viva was, traditionally it'd be you standing up in a presentation and defending your project from your professors who were asking you difficult questions. But because of COVID, we couldn't do that. So we had a big Zoom meeting and everyone put the poster up on the screen and they asked you a couple of questions. And I got some questions about, the mics we used and things like that and compression. And it was fine. Yeah, it wasn't a problem. And then finally, the fourth aspect of the project was the dissertation. This was the hard bit for me. So I'll show you what we got. Okay. This was the title of the project: Producing an Album of Original Music. Project dissertation, that's me. This was the degree. This is the code. These are my supervisors. Okay, and this is, obviously I can't show you all this. This is massive. This is about 40,000 words. This is the contents. How long? So yeah, so it goes to about 241 pages. And yeah, it just goes through the whole project, the whole process from pre-production to research. You know, this is what I was telling you, like you have to research, you know, the science behind music making and audio literature. You know, so it's quite technical at this age, at this stage. Lots of illustrations. Then it goes into pre-planning, Gantt charts and dates. The studio, that's my studio, where, you know, this is me here, and this is my equipment. And then it goes into the actual process of doing acoustic tracks. You know, some of the equipment I use, that's my microphone. That's BFD. What we got? So this is the piano that I used. You know, obviously I'd have preferred Mikey, like I said, but that's what I had to use. It's my theremin. So with the song Spooky, I used theremin all the way through it. That was nice. Some of the guitars used on the record. That's probably the main one I used, the SG standard. If I needed like rock, I mean, you don't hear this bass on the record. That was all on the demos I used to send to the lads. But Collins replaced that with his bass, which is much better. So these two are the main guitars on the album. The SG standard and the Les Paul. But for the solos, I use this a lot. This Les Paul special. It's P90s and it's got this little whammy bar on it. It's great for solos, great sound, and there's loads of strat on it. Any kind of rhythm or arpeggio, like on Boris and things like that, there's a lot of strat. Any acoustics, this thing. Any sliders, that thing. And that's my interface. And God, I could just go on forever with all this stuff. So this is us in the studio. That's a 1935 mic that didn't work. And these are the mics we used on the drums. Yeah, so on and on and on and on, blah, blah, blah. And it's like 40,000 words. Listen, if anybody, for whatever crazy reason, wanted a copy of this, if you buy a copy of my album off Bandcamp, it's included in there's like a deluxe package. If you go to Bandcamp, I'll put the link in this. If you go to Bandcamp and buy a copy of my album, you get the download of the album tracks, but you also get the dissertation, you get the press pack, you get some album art, and, you know, there's some extras if anyone wanted to. Now, I can think of a few reasons why it could be useful. Like maybe you're a university student who's doing a similar project. You could have a look at what I did, and you might want to do things differently, or, you know, or you're just a home producer who, you know, because it's very specific of what I did and how I did it. So if you're just getting into audio production, it might be useful. So yeah, the offer's there. It's there if you want it. So yeah, is that it? Oh yeah. So okay. So I met those 4 points. I did the blog, the media deliverable, the presentation, and the dissertation. Got it all in. It's done. So you've seen the previous 30 videos of me doing a boring video every week. This is what I've done this week. This is the conclusion. That's what we had to do. How did it go? Okay. So yesterday we got our marks. So I'll just go straight to the project. Okay, so what this means is this is the project. 94 is my overall mark percent for the project, which is beyond my wildest dreams. I didn't imagine I'd be getting 94. I'd kind of said if I said to myself, if I got 70, which is considered a first, you know, in university anything over 70% is considered a first. You know, that's what you're aiming for. That's that's great. You know, anything over 60 is like a 2-1 score, and most people are pleased with that. If you get over 70, it's great. So 94, I was in dreamland. So very, very happy with that. So to break it down, the blog and the log and time management and the Gantt chart, I got 100% for that. I was pretty thorough. So brilliant. The media related deliverable, that's the actual album, the CD and the links and all that, I got 95%. Now, just to be clear, that's not meaning that they listened to the album and they thought, oh, this is the fantastic album, you know, I love the music. It's just academically I hit the marking scheme. So they may have hated the album musically, but, you know, technically I must have done a good enough job to get 95%. Presentation Viva, 90, great, happy with that. And the final written report, I got 92%, which I'm over the moon with, because the other stuff, it's really nice to get 95% and, you know, all that stuff. But, you know, I've been doing music production for a long time, so I kind of put pressure on myself. I wanted to get a good score, and I thought I should get a good score. But writing a dissertation is not something I've ever done before, and I've never felt myself to be a particularly academic person. So I'm very, very pleased with that score. That's good. So what does this mean for me? This is my transcript. So year 1, I got 89% overall. Year 2, I got 85% overall. And year 3, with the project score, I got 89%. So that gave me an overall degree mark of 89%. And I'm now officially a Bachelor of Science with Honours, Class 1. So that's a first. I'm very, 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 very pleased with that. So that's it. So that's how it went. That's the conclusion. I did the project, finished the degree, got a first, got good marks. So very pleased. So how do I feel about the album? Well, as an academic project, it was a massive success. Definitely, I got really high scores. I got a first-class degree out of it. And so I'll always be grateful to Jai and Colin and Mark and everyone that helped. My family for putting up with me living in the studio basically for a year. So that's the academic side. It's a double-edged project, really. So there was also an artistic side. So I wanted to make an album that just artistically I didn't hate and I was kind of proud of, and, you know, that the lads would like and I could sell. And I think I did. You know, it was a weird circumstances. Normally when I'm doing a commercial record or, you know, an original record, I write until I'm satisfied, I'm totally happy, and then I record and I chip away until I'm totally happy. And the whole album could take years, couldn't it? You know, until you're absolutely satisfied. But this was different. I had really hard deadlines. I had to quickly write 10 songs. And I didn't want to cheat and just use songs I had already lying around. I didn't want to do that. I saw it as a good challenge. I was like, can I just come up with 10 songs if I have to, and then record them and release them? So that was the fun. So if I'd have cheated and gone, well, here's a song I wrote 10 years ago, I mean, the lecturers wouldn't have known, but I didn't want to do it. So I did write 10 new songs, and I did record them, and I did release them. There's things I'd do differently. If I had to do it all again tomorrow, I think that's true of any project. There's some, mic decisions on the drums I'd definitely do differently. I mean, basically, there's no room mics on the drums, because the room mic we set up, the 1935 Apple and Biscuit failed. And we didn't have standard room mics at the back of the room as a backup, which is what I'd do differently in the future. So I had to make a fake room mic using software. So I took the drum master bus and I fed it into an auxiliary channel, an effect channel, and put a convolution reverb on it, and, you know, I created like a fake room sound, and it works. It works quite nice. I think I've done a good job. So it does have a roomy drum sound to it, but I had to work hard to get it. It would have been better just to have the mics there. Some of the mic choices, I was using vintage mics, beautiful old mics, which are great. And as a musician, it's cool, and it's, you know, it makes it interesting. I'm using these old vintage equipment. But scientifically, in future, you know, some of the vintage mics have limited frequency response, you know, and maybe some of the mics we use weren't the perfect candidate for the job, you know, like some of the large condensers on the toms and things like that we used. maybe in future I just use a directional dynamic, because I had to work very hard to get a lot of cymbals out of, the drums. And yeah, the drums sound good, but I think I worked harder than I should have to get them sounding good in the end. But it's great, you do a project and you learn. You go, well, I won't do that again, and that's kind of half the fun. Like if you come away going, I did everything perfectly and I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, what was the point? Almost, in an academic sense. I mean, you haven't learned anything, have you? So yeah, there's definitely things I do. The EQ wise, I don't think it's perfect. I think if I sit here at this desk and play the album, it sounds great. It sounds really good. I'm really pleased with it and very satisfied. If I go to the car and play it, I kind of go, it doesn't translate as well. If I play it on a mobile, it sounds okay for a mobile. See, again, that's the thing with mixing that I find. It's getting its sound, and the best records just sound great, whatever format you play. I don't know how they do it sometimes. It's whether it's a phone or a £5 set of earbuds or a fantastic speaker setup. It just sounds great wherever. And I'm not sure this record does. I think it sounds good in some situations. In others, it's okay. But again, I'm listening to it with terribly critically. And I know where the flaws are and where I've EQ'd funnily and where I've gated. And, the average person isn't going to hear it anyway. But if they did, they might not even notice all these things I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, I'd do things differently next time. Yeah, I'd have the piano. It wouldn't be me playing piano on the album. It'd be Mikey or somebody else. I'd have different backing vocals. All the vocals on the album are me, apart from the screams. That was a sample. But all the singing voices are me. And ideally, I'd love to get loads of different voices and female voices and different male voices, and you just get a richer texture that way. But I made this record largely in this room. When I wasn't in Rock 2, I was in this room recording guitars and vocals, and it was in the pandemic, and working with other people was difficult. So that's what I mean. There was a lot of compromises, but I think considering that and considering it was an academic project, it's worked out pretty well. So yeah, so that's it. I've passed the degree. It's all over. Bachelor of Science, BSc, and what's next? I've got options. I can do I've been accepted onto a master's course to do audio forensics in September. That's one option. Carl Jones, who was my supervisor, he's asking me about maybe doing a PhD. It's potentially another option. And if any jobs came up in the audio world, that's another thing. So just going to see where it takes us. But at the time being, the Delta Tones are up and running again. We've got 3 gigs this weekend, so it looks like the world's starting to move finally again. So it's good. But I just wanted to wrap it up because there's my Big Cloud Production channel was swamped down with project videos, and it's probably quite confusing for anyone that stumbles onto them. What's this? So you could just skip to the end. This is the one. I just wanted to wrap it up, and this will be the last video on the degree. But anyone who's watched, thank you very much. Get in touch if you have any questions, and good luck. See you later. Oh, hang on, I need to do a little goodbye music thing. Here we go. Let's get Peanut's face on. All right, thanks for watching. Bye bye.